all right then.
Renuvion was also discussed.
Yes.
Would the stitching procedure be combined with Renuvion?
Okay, so Renuvion, as I mentioned at the start of tonight, is a tissue tightening technique, tissue tightening procedure. And yes, I would do an hours valve net with Renuvion, but I would not do an hours valve net with ultrasound assisted lipo. Call it Vaser if you like, call it LipoSaver if you want to go 4th generation, but these ultrasonic assisted liposuction techniques, I would not do an hours valve net with those. Why not? I'm going to have to rewind a little bit and explain what Vaser is, what ultrasonic assisted lipo is. So liposuction is obviously when we fill an area with fluid, we put a liposuction cannula in and we suck out fat. That's what liposuction is. When we're using Vaser or LipoSaver, we use a solid metal probe first that has ultrasound energy pass through it. And what that ultrasound energy does is make the probe vibrate. And that vibration does a few things. It generates heat, which melts the fat, and it also creates these bubbles, which cavitates the fat. It separates all the fat globules, which basically turns solid fat into butter. It emulsifies it, and it makes it very easy to suck out. Okay, so what you do is you use that ultrasonic assisted liposuction first. It melts the fat into butter. Then you use standard liposuction of whatever type you want, and you suck it out. All good so far. However, inevitably, you don't suck out every single last bit of that emulsified fat. There'll be some sloshing around. And the fat that's sloshing around is alive, it's viable, and it's free. And it will survive wherever it lands, wherever it settles. So when you compress that patient afterwards, when you compress that patient afterwards, you've got to make sure there are no creases whatsoever in that compression garment, because if there's a crease, you're going to get fat, these spare fat cells floating around, not able to take there, but they can take on either side, and you can permanently create a sculpture of that crease in the body afterwards. You don't want to do that. So it's got to be very even compression if you use that technology. So obviously, in that context, you don't want to be putting loads of stitches and making someone look like a Chesterfield sofa or like a squishy toy that's gone through a net, as you said, because that's going to be permanent. So yes, I do use an hours valve mesh, an hours valve net when I'm using Renuvion, but I don't use an hours valve net when I'm using Vaser or LipoSaver, and that's why. Okay,
so is it possible to remove gynecomastia with liposuction only?
Yes, it will. No. So
just said yes.
I did say yes, but by lipo only I meant with the tiny scars from lipo only. Yes. What am I talking about? Okay, as I just said, liposuction is the tube, you put it in, you fill the fat with fluid and you suck out the fluid and fat together. Right, that's what liposuction is. All that can treat is fat. And when people have gynecomastia, they normally have two things, fat and gland, breast gland. Breast gland is not the same as fat. Your breast gland is the same as it's like a thyroid gland. You can't liposuction out someone's thyroid, and you can't liposuction out someone's breast normally. And men do have true breast glands. The breast gland is just a milk producing gland. In men, it doesn't really do the job very well. It doesn't ever produce milk, but it is the same structure. And you cannot liposuction that away. So if you try to just lipo a man's chest with standard lipo, you'll suck out the fat around the gland, you'll leave the gland, and it will look worse. You'll just have a gland under the nipple, and you'll think, this is horrible, I've just got a puffy nipple, I've got an even flatter chest and a puffy nipple, I don't like this. But what you can do is use Vaser or LipoSaver first, because it is so powerful that it's actually able to liquefy the gland as well as the fat. So you can blast through a breast gland with that and then suck it away as if it were fat, but it's not. But the proviso I would say on that is you can't do it if the gland is too large. So I saw a whole load of gynecomastia people today, and one of them did just want that small scar approach and had quite a large gland, and I said to him, look, I just may not get all of it. I may not get it all because you've got quite a large gland. I can get all of it when it's a small gland. I may not get it all. And he said to me, he'd actually said to me beforehand, I don't necessarily want you to take everything away. He had quite firm, it actually looked quite muscular, but it had gone too far. and it had gone so far it tipped over into gynecomastia. But he was quite bulky and hench, and it kind of worked from him. He looked like a sort of, bodybuilder kind of physique, but it was just tipping into gynecomastia at the chest. So he said, I don't need to have a totally flat chest. Honestly, I don't need or want that. So I said, okay, for you, in that case, this will work. And if someone else has a smaller gland, how can you tell how big your gland is, by the way? Easy, you just pinch it. So if you... Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. I'm not going any further.
Oh.
So
I'm excited then.
Here is my test patch. So this is how much fat have you got generally. So this is me. This is how much fat I've got on me. So reasonably slim. This is my, test area. This is my baseline. Now I'm going to go to the chest area. How much fat have I got in the chest area? So it's a bit fatter in my chest area. It's not too bad, but it's a bit fatter in my chest area. Now, if you go to where the nipple is, too much information, but this is my nipple. I've never said that on Fab Club before. If you go to where the nipple is, then you'll feel true gland, and I've got a bit of, this is actual male breast tissue. Now I'm going to kind of...
Are you blushing?
Is that a bit grim? So anyway, you can measure, if you just pinch around the nipple, and you can grab the male breast tissue, and you just get a little marker pen or a pencil or whatever, and you can outline your breast gland. It's really easy to do. You do not have to be a plastic surgeon to be able to do this. And you can just see how big is it. If it's just a little nubbin, a few centimetres around the nipple, really easy. Usually it's a much larger area than that. It's usually oval. It's usually a much larger area. And if it is, then we may need more.
Oval that way round rather than that way round.
Yeah, a horizontal oval. That's right.
Yeah. So is an enlarged gland, if it's an enlarged gland, it has to be cut out?
If it's or you accept leaving some behind, yeah. Or, okay, so it is possible to melt some of the gland with vasolipo, correct, it is. So there you go.
There we go.